Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday. It is digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four, where I talk about 48's top stories and then some before our 4 p.m. newscast. Whether you're new or returning to the show, I want to, of course, thank you for spending just a little bit of your Friday afternoon with me here. Also, feel free to leave a comment if you do so wish. I can see if you do so right here on this monitor right here. But again, thank you so much. But with all of that said, let's now dive into some of today's top stories. And starting things off, today 48's Callie Neese and Daquan Lee will both be covering the global IT outages from CrowdStrike and how it is affecting those here in the Tennessee Valley. Callie will be speaking with the 911 director here in Huntsville on how the outage impacted emergency communications. And of course, Daquan is speaking with a cybersecurity expert about what happened, the causes, and how we can potentially prepare if it does decide to happen again. So make sure you all stick around for 48's team coverage on this situation, coming up at 4 and in our evening newscasts. And now in Marshall County, 48 Savannah Sapp will be bringing you all an update on a new Parks and Rec renovation here out in Gunnersville. A $20 million project. Savannah will have the latest for you on that Parks and Rec situation going on in Gunnersville coming up tonight. Now out in the Shoals, let me pull this up for you. A Waterloo man is facing more than 1,000 criminal charges after investigators further examined electronic devices seized from his home. Jimmy Shook, who you see on screen right here, was originally arrested on Wednesday and was charged with 5 counts of possession of obscene material containing a person under the age of 17. He was booked into the Lauderdale County Detention Center. Now, after bonding out later on Wednesday, investigators say they found several hundred images and videos of child pornography. Shook now faces 505 counts of possession of child porn and 500 counts of production of child porn. He currently remains at the Lauderdale County Detention Center on a $400,000 bond. And in Morgan County, a Decatur man is in jail after authorities say he entered a woman's home, grabbed her son, and locked himself in the bathroom. Now, according to the Morgan County Sheriff's Office, officials received a call Wednesday morning relating to an incident in Trinity. The woman victim then told deputies that she woke up to find Melvin Nixon, who you see on screen, inside of her home. Authorities say Nixon picked up her child, took him to the bathroom, and locked the door. He would eventually open the door after deputies announced who they were. The child was then let go and returned to the mother. Nixon was booked into the Morgan County Jail and charged with kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and criminal mischief. Now, in case you missed it, yesterday 48's Daquan Lee was at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center as officials look to revitalize Rocket Row. Daquan Lee has the latest. Let's listen.
This morning, dozens of NASA employees and city leaders honored the donors here who are helping to pay for the renovation of the rocket park here at the Space and Rocket Center. Dr. Kimberly Robinson, CEO of the Space and Rocket Center, led the ceremony, speaking on the rich history of the building and the rockets that are a part of Rocket Row. Fred Luddy, a major contributor to its revitalization, spoke on how important it was to continue to invest in one of the country's most iconic achievements. He recalled his son imploring him to send him to space camp and saw it as an opportunity to celebrate something major.
For my generation, we can be educated about how this whole program evolved and I think, really celebrate, the human achievement of putting 400,000 or 500,000 people together to create great programs like the Saturn V program.
As a part of the revitalization of Rocket Row, the Pathfinder will also be returning to the city and will eventually become a permanent fixture of Rocket Park. In Huntsville, Daquan Lee, 48 on your side.
Thank you to Quan. Also yesterday, 48's Aria Pons out in the Shoals reported on a story about the Animal Control Center in Lawrence County, now under new leadership. Obviously, Lawrence County was where 83-year-old Willard Norton was attacked and killed by two of his neighbor's dogs. From Lawrence County, Aria Pons has this story.
Someone new is at the helm of Lawrence County Animal Control. Anthony Wilbanks is in his second day on the job, and he's very ready to make some changes both at the shelter and in the community. Wilbanks is a certified animal control officer. He was brought in this week to reboot the system in Lawrence County. The community has been complaining to commissioners about no one answering phones, the shelter being closed all the time, and problems with adopting animals. Wilbanks says he's going to turn the shelter around. He plans to restart the adoption program, get the public more involved, and even bring in jail trustees to help clean and organize the shelter. He says his two priorities are the animals and the community.
That's the whole goal, is to help the public. We're not here to police the public and beat up on them. We're here to make them more knowledgeable and address the problem areas, because there's a lot of problem areas in all the counties, not just Lawrence County. You know, there's a tragedy that happened here, and we're hoping we can make a difference and that never happen again.
Wilbanks says that the shelter is in need of some serious work. He added that they do need donations such as bleach, dog food, cat litter, and cleaning supplies. Reporting in Moulton, Aria Pons, 48 on your side.
Well, thank you, Aria. Now the latest weekly Crime Stoppers story is in. Let's take a look at who 48's Gina Benitez and Huntsville Police need your help stopping this week. Let's listen.
Take a good look. Athens police say this man in a blue Star Wars t-shirt that reads "Not Today" thought it was the perfect day on July 4th to steal merchandise from Buc-ee's. Police say he returned to the scene of the crime 5 days later wearing a Pac-Man t-shirt this time and did it all over again. He was recorded driving away in a black Chevy SUV each time. If you recognize this man who loves a graphic tee or that SUV, Athens police want to talk to you. Police still want to find Alicia Hodges, who's accused of trafficking fentanyl in the area. Courtney Henson is accused of being in possession of the dangerous drug. Be on the lookout for Jordan Wheeling. He's accused of home repair fraud. Police say he was paid to do some work at a home and never did it. And finally, Bernard Lee is accused of sexually abusing a young woman. Earning up to $1,000 is simple. If you recognize any of these people, just pick up the phone and call 53 Crime. You can also text or email your tips. For more information, visit the Crime Stoppers link on our website at WAFF.com.
Well, thank you, Margot. And now in some national news. The Republican National Convention wrapped up last night in Milwaukee. Former President Donald Trump has now officially accepted his party's nomination for president. Trump's 90-minute speech last night was his first since the attempted assassination last Saturday. Certainly an energetic crowd. The Republican nominee capped off a night of family and friends. NBC's Bree Jackson reports from the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee.
Before the balloon drop, a marathon monologue overnight with former President Trump taking the stage, his name in lights.
I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States.
In his first speech since the assassination attempt against him.
I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Mr. Trump, his ears still bandaged, recounting the moment he was shot Saturday in Pennsylvania, surrounded by images from that day, tears streaming down the faces of some in the crowd.
When I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet in a certain way I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that.
The former president kissing the helmet of Corey Comparator, the firefighter who died at the rally protecting his family, before a moment of silence. And later, displaying the chart Mr. Trump had turned to see on the rally stage, a move he credited with saving his life.
Last time I put up that chart, I never really got to look at it. But without that chart, I would not be here today.
But despite the former president's pledge to deliver a more unifying message after the shooting, only a brief nod.
I am running to be president for all of America.
Before riffing, rally style, off script, repeating the grievances, conspiracies, and insults characteristics of his campaign speeches.
Crazy Nancy Pelosi, the China virus. They use COVID to cheat.
Mr. Trump, in the longest convention speech ever, issuing ominous warnings.
Under the current administration, we are indeed a nation in decline.
Repeating his election fraud lies and slamming Democrats, though notably only mentioning President Biden by name briefly.
If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States, they will not have done the damage that Biden has done.
Mr. Trump's family joining him on the convention's final night, including former First Lady Melania Trump appearing for the first time this week, as well as Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, both former senior White House advisors who have stepped out of politics since. Eric Trump, in his own speech, hitting his father's familiar themes.
The greatest retribution will be our success.
The night appearing aimed at firing up the GOP base and boosting turnout among loyalists. Conservative firebrand Tucker Carlson on stage, as was Kid Rock. Along with brawlers like UFC head Dana White and the WWE's Hulk Hogan.
Let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Well, thank you, Bree. Now let's take a look at the other side of the political aisle. President Joe Biden. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez reports on intensifying pressure on the president to drop out of the race as he battles COVID. Let's take a listen.
This morning, in self-isolation as he recovers from COVID, President Biden is also growing more isolated politically. The president facing the loudest calls yet to drop out of the race. We're close to the end, one person close to the president telling NBC News. Another person who spoke to a senior campaign official saying they're finally realizing it's a when, not if.
I think the president will do what he's always done, which is put the best interests of the country first.
The anxiety among Democrats reaching the top of the party. Two sources familiar with his thinking tell NBC News former President Obama has concerns about President Biden's ability to stay at the top of the ticket, but feels personally protective of him. One source saying Obama sees President Biden's path to winning as getting harder. Overnight, Montana Senator John Tester, locked in a tight re-election campaign, became the 22nd Democratic lawmaker to publicly call for the president to leave the race. Key Democrat Jamie Raskin writing a letter to the president, urging him to reconsider his run, comparing him to a tired major league pitcher, but not explicitly telling him to drop out of the race. Still, another key Democrat, Jim Clyburn, is sticking with him.
That I'm riding with Biden, and that's not going to change. What would it take for me to change my mind? It would take him changing his.
Publicly, the White House and the Biden campaign are aggressively pushing back. A source close to the president telling NBC News in 2015, Obama, Pelosi, Schumer pushed Biden aside in favor of Hillary. They were wrong then, and they are wrong now. In a radio interview conducted right before the president tested positive for COVID, his cough evident as he addresses public questions about his age.
Well, what happens when he's 84 years old? What happens excuse me, when he's 85 years old? I was smart enough to know with age comes wisdom.
With her running mate temporarily sidelined, Vice President Kamala Harris campaigning in battleground North Carolina.
Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win.
Well, thank you, Gabe. Now in sports. SEC Football Media Days was held in downtown Dallas this week. And of course, 48's Carl Prather and 48's Cam Durr attended each and every day. And if you've been watching the Before the Fours this week, I've been briefly interviewing Carl. And when I say briefly, I mean like 20-minute interviews because there's just so much to talk about. Carl was live from Dallas each and every day, and let's take a listen to Carl and Cam as they wrapped up SEC Media Days last night. Let's take a listen.
Reports are slowly surfacing that tomorrow may be the day that Bryant-Denny Stadium will be named the Bryant-Denny Stadium at Nick Saban Field. The Board of Regents at the University of Alabama expected to vote to make it official on Friday. Stay tuned throughout the day tomorrow as we prepare to potentially hear some significant news down on the capstone. And with that, we say welcome in North Alabama and the Tennessee Valley. Alongside Cam Durr, I'm Carl Prather. We are completely over and done with SEC Media Days 2024. She survived. If I can get out, I survived. Now it's all that's left to do is put a bow on this, and we start our coverage for the final night with none other than the Auburn Tigers.
I know. How exciting is it for the Auburn Tigers and Hugh Freeze? Now he's got 1 year under his belt.
Yep.
He's established the culture that he wants. Now heading into year 2 now. We'll just have to see what happens and see what everything that he puts into motion comes to life.
Absolutely. So we had an opportunity to go a little one-on-one with Coach Freeze before he made his rounds, numerous rounds across the Omni Dallas with media. And here is our conversation with Coach Freeze right now. Coach, listen, when you get to this point, you kind of get the feeling that, you're getting closer to fall.
No more late time.
No more late time. And I was doing the same thing you were.
This weekend,
I know.
And then it's over.
I'm going to go fishing myself this weekend.
Yeah.
Walk us through just, what this means for you, your staff, your organization as you kind of get ready for fall camp.
Well, first, thank you. We'd like to take care of our home folk, so it's
you.
good to spend some time with you. And, this year 2 for me, everywhere we've been, we've always taken a step forward, and that's what I expect. Now, we've improved our roster, but it's filled with a lot of young kids. And how well do they play in this league that's got a lot of great players that are probably 4 years older than them? That I don't know yet. But there's no question the feeling around our building is more confident. And so hopefully that, we can stay healthy at the spots we need to.
You're so familiar with this league, but the comfortability that you have to have in year 2, a second off season.
Well, I love our staff right now. And that doesn't mean anything negative toward anybody else. It's just everybody in that offensive room now, analysts, on the field, they have worked with me before. And then DJs and Charles have a great chemistry over there with their guys and energy, which I needed some. I'm getting older, and I'm telling you, DJ and Charles and Crime and Josh and them and Von Trail are bringing it over there. But I think the biggest difference, though, is just, I don't know, the offensive room. I think Peyton senses, oh, man, these dudes, they're on the same page. They're like, here's the adjustment. And he and it wasn't always, and it's nobody's fault but mine from last year. The buck stops with me on that. And but I do think that comfortableness is hopefully going to make a difference.
And that's going to do it for our coverage from Dallas. You survived. You should be very proud of yourself. I'm proud of myself for surviving.
This might be the earliest I've woken up in quite a few weeks, but hey, I'm ready for kickoff. I'll tell you that.
Yes, we are ready for kickoff. For my teammate Cam Durr, for our amazing videographer Patrick Akers, who made us look amazing throughout the week. I'm Carl Prather. We send it back to you.
They definitely survived indeed. Just a few minutes before I started Before the Four today, I saw Carl walk back here. He just landed back in Huntsville from Dallas, but that sounds like it was a super awesome trip, and I'm on it. I'm proud of them for surviving. But that also, watching that video there, it sounded like an incredible conversation with Coach Freeze. And let me tell you, those Auburn Tigers look to be a lot better this year. Great looking, energetic defense with Eugene Asante, Keldrick Falk, and Jalen McLeod leading the charge. And then not to mention the new additions to Coach Freeze's offense. Freshman wide receiver Cam Coleman, he looks to be the star of the show for the Tigers. Which will certainly make quarterback Peyton Thorne's job a whole lot easier. But for all my Alabama fans watching right now, Coach Kalen DeBoer, quarterback Jalen Milroe, that absolute beast known as Tyler Booker on the offensive line, and defensive leader, and from what I understand, he's a little bit of a cowboy, Mr. Malachi Moore. They all took center stage Wednesday. But let's take a listen to what Carl and Cam had to say about the Crimson Tide from SEC Media Days.
Absolutely. The new man in the race is none other than Kalen DeBoer. DeBoer excited about, of course, the transition from the Pacific Northwest and Washington to Alabama. Of course, relationships very important for Coach DeBoer before any X's and O's heading into fall camp.
I respect, and I've done it enough times to where you go to different places, whether it's as an assistant or as a head coach, to where you kind of know. And the first thing, you know what you need to try to do early, and the first thing is to just listen to what those things are, whether it's the players, whether it's the alumni, those within the building, just kind of hear, what are front and center, the ones that are the traditions that are most important to them.
Yeah, Coach DeBoer, just a very cool, calm demeanor. I know it's a little different from what we've been able to witness with Coach Saban, but still think, obviously, Coach DeBoer will be successful. You had an opportunity to hear from Coach DeBoer's starting quarterback this year under center, none other than Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, and Jalen, he's super confident in what Coach DeBoer is building, but he's also really confident in what he had going for him coming up this season, and I got to speak with him about how he's feeling about year 2 as a starter. And I am joined with none other than the Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback, Jalen Milroe. Jalen, you have 1 year as a starter now under your belt. Tell me, what did you take away from last year as you head into this season that's going to be a little bit different from last season, right?
Yeah, it's awesome to reflect from last season, because now you can distinguish some things that were positive and negative transiting into the offseason. So what a great opportunity that's been presented for our football team to have this offseason of 4 stages of going through our offseason period with fourth quarter program, spring ball, summer 1, summer 2. So it's all about getting better. Keep climbing the hump, keep building, keep growing as a team, and not getting complacent. So it's been a great transition from the last snap we had until now.
Now we're going to shift gears a little bit. I don't know if you know, but the Olympics are at the end of this month. And if you weren't playing football and you were heading to Paris with Team USA, which team do you think you would be a part of?
I'll be running track.
What event?
100.
What is your 100, you know?
Am I stretching?
You got to.
All that stuff? I can push now. I'll be in the 9s. Late 9s.
I believe it. Hey, maybe we'll see Jalen Milroe in Paris next, 4 years, wherever that is. LA, I believe. Thank you so much, Jalen. Wish you the best of luck for the season ahead.
Roll Tide.
Okay, folks, don't forget, if you want to catch all of our SEC Media Days coverage, you got to head over to our 48 Sports Zone app. All the videos and info you need from the week. The Sports Zone app, currently available right now on iOS and the Google Play Store.
My goodness, I definitely want to see Milroe competing in the Olympics. That would be incredible to see. But I got to tell y'all, I am incredibly excited right now for football season, which is starting next month. I have to wait an entire month for this. But on August 31st, the Tide opened their season against the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. And that same day, the Auburn Tigers opened theirs against the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. I am definitely marking my calendar, and on August 31st, do not bother me because I am going to be watching football all day, so that is what I will be doing. Well, it was also a sad day yesterday as comedian and actor Bob Newhart passed away. Bob Newhart, I should say, actually. He passed away at 94 in Los Angeles. Newhart, remembered as a star for his hit television shows in the 70s and 80s, and he's also remembered for doing stand-up comedy shows and playing Papa Elf in the hit Christmas film Elf. NBC's Kaylee Hartoon reports on remembering Bob Newhart.
He was an insecure psychologist.
Hello?
An understated innkeeper.
Hello? Is this anything for a buck?
And a kindly Papa Elf.
Buddy, I think we have to talk.
But mostly, Bob Newhart was always Bob Newhart.
Here he is, Bobby Newhart.
We first met him in 1960, doing stand-up on The Tonight Show with Jack Parr. But it was his comedy album that same year that catapulted him into the national spotlight. It sold more than 1 million copies. His comedic chops so good, he won a Grammy for Best Album, beating out the likes of Frank Sinatra, Harry Belafonte, and Nat King Cole. His first show, The Bob Newhart Show, part of perhaps the best night of television ever, airing on CBS alongside other unforgettable shows. His second show, self-titled as well, reminding us simple is funny.
I'm Larry, this is my brother Daryl, that's my other brother Daryl.
And ending with a legendary homage to his first show.
You won't believe the dream I just had.
He visited Today frequently over the decades, chatting with Al in 2017.
How does a 30-year-old accountant break into stand-up comedy?
Well, first of all, I wasn't a good accountant. I was, and people kept telling me, "You're funny. You ought to go to New York." And so I said, "I'm going to give this a shot."
Newhart also made deadpan chic, often using his accounting background and Midwestern sensibilities for laughs. Resurrecting that timeless telephone bit for Harry Smith in his 90s.
Hello, would I want to do the Harry Smith show? Sure, it's on CBS, right?
He was married to his beloved wife for 60 years. They lived in Los Angeles, a town famous for youth. Yet as he got older, Newhart experienced a career renaissance.
What is this?
Winning an Emmy for a guest role on The Big Bang Theory at the age of 84. And he never lost his thirst for a laugh.
Ben, I'm still alive. I kind of had a chance to retire this year, and it drove me nuts. It just drove me nuts. So I said, get me some dates, because I gotta. How can you be tired of making people laugh? You know, how can you?
Universally beloved and revered, co-stars from across his eras paying tribute. A comedian from a bygone era, whose comedy was timeless.
Certainly a funny guy, and he will be greatly missed and forever remembered. But now let's talk about the stories you're just not going to want to miss. The latest Kitchen Cop scores are in. See which restaurants here in the Tennessee Valley failed this week on our website, WAFF.com. Another story you're just not going to want to miss, how humor can impact parenting, everything you need to know about tax-free weekend, and of course, what's poppin' with Peyton. See what all is going on here in North Alabama this weekend in tonight's newscast. Also, a rainy day today in Huntsville, but make sure you stick around for the forecast from First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis, as he keeps you in the know of how the weather will pan out this weekend. You're just not going to want to miss it. Now it is time for, that's right, you guessed it, it is time for Facebook Fun. And if you're new to Before the Four, Facebook Fun is where we ask a question every single day on our 48 Facebook page. Usually this is around 11:30 or noon. We'll ask this question, and let's see what you all had to say today. So our question today was, what word do you always spell wrong? That's a good one. Let's see what you all had to say about that. None are really popping in my head at the moment, but let's see what you all had to say. Olivia Fontana says gorgeous. I think you meant to spell gorgeous, like the proper spelling of it, maybe. But yeah, that is definitely a tough one to spell. Olivia, thank you so much for commenting. Melissa Owen said convenience, another difficult word to spell. I think I'm guilty of misspelling convenience a time or two, but Melissa, thank you for commenting. Lindsay said restaurant, and this was actually a popular comment today. A lot of people said they struggled to spell restaurant, which I could see why. It has that A-U in it, the rant. So yeah, I could see how that one could be kind of hard to spell. But Lindsay, thank you for commenting. You definitely had the popular comment there. And then Joshua Winslet said he's dyslexic. So I feel your struggle, Joshua. I definitely feel it. But thank you for commenting. And that is just about all the time I have in today's Before the Four. I want to thank you so much for sticking around and spending a little bit of your Friday afternoon with me. If you haven't done so already, make sure you download the 48 Digital app and the 48 First Alert Weather app. And we've recently launched, as you heard Carl say earlier, the 48 Sports Zone app. Get all those apps, never miss a breaking story. But thank you so much for watching again, and I hope you all have a great weekend. But like I said, thanks for watching. You all have a great weekend. Thank you.